Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our TNA show for the week. My name is George Coles and I'm going solo on this one. Let's get right into it. We have the Aces and Eights coming out, basically Bully Ray cutting a promo, talking about how Devon was a weak link, he's always carried him their whole career. Same basic promo he cut when Team 3D broke up. The added flavor is he says he only needs two people, his Brooke, the Hot Brooke, and Tito Ortiz. He gives Tito the vest or cut that Devon used to wear, and it shows a little dissension in the ranks. Mr. Anderson's questions why wasn't this put to a vote. The other guys don't look so happy. Bully seems to not care because he's the president. Running theme through the show is the dissension in the ranks of Aces and Eights. And it's about time they split this group up. I mean, they're thinning out the guys. We already had Doc and Devon and D'Lo leave. Not that any of them are major people in the group, but the group as it stands now is Bully Ray, Mr. Anderson, Tito Ortiz, who's not a wrestler, Wes Briscoe, and Garrett Bischoff and Nux. The three of those no one gives two shits about, other than their parents. But, yeah. I think that the group has run its course. I think soon after the Bound for Glory series, if not at the Bound for Glory series, they'll be gone as a group. You know, I'm sure those guys will stick around as other parts. But, you know, very lackluster opening segment to start the show off. But we go right into our one of our first of three Bound for Glory series matches. Now, they changed it on us this year, folks, midstream. Instead of all 12 of the guys wrestling each other once each, we now have this where they've decided the next three matches and a match next week, which Hulk Hogan decided on, are pretty much make or break matches. They're the last four counting next week matches to get yourself into the qualifying, the final four for Bound for Glory. Now, we had Jeff Hardy versus Frankie Kazarian. Hulk Hogan also, according to the announcers, set the stipulation that Ego could not help Kaz. Obviously, once they did that, Jeff Hardy picks up the win. A face goes over. I kind of thought it was stupid that they're ruining the reason that Ego was put together in the first place. I thought it was a great idea that they help each other. One of them eventually wins. In my opinion, I thought it was silly that they would ruin it that quick. Of course, Hardy's going to win if Kazarian doesn't have any help. He's been billed as the bigger star of the two, even though he's, to me, less of an attraction than Kazarian. I'd much rather see Kazarian as a champion than Jeff Hardy at this point. I mean, Jeff Hardy's got his pluses, don't get me wrong. He has a tremendous fan base. He sells a ton of merchandise. The kids and the women seem to love him. And that's not a knock. A lot of guys love him too. But I think Kazarian's a wrestling fan's wrestler, if you get what I mean. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little too cerebral on this one. Maybe it's just a match on a throwaway show. Just my opinion now. Next up we have ODB versus Gail Kim for the number one contender for Mickie James' knockout title. I liked it. I thought, again, like I did last week when they wrestled, they didn't give him quite enough time. I'd like to see a good pay-per-view quality match out of Gail and ODB. I'd give them 20 minutes, 15. You know, give them a decent amount of time. See what these two girls can do with each other. I think it might be great. ODB picks up the win, and she's going to wrestle Mickie James at a No Surrender, I believe, is their next pay-per-view on TV event. So they're keeping all the pay-per-view names, just running them on TV, which is cool. I wish they would do a Clash of Champions style thing where they ran them on a separate show, all live, but that's just personal preference. Speaking of personal preference, we're going to go into our question of the week from last week. Now, we got an answer from one of our friends. The question was, what is your favorite of the three big factions in TNA? The Main Event Mafia, the Extraordinary Gentlemen's Organization, or whatever the heck they're calling it. I believe that's the right name. Or the Aces and Eights. The first is from our friend, handsome Pat Fannin. Of course, it's Ego. Its members are top performers. The other two are mostly filled with guys we need to see less of. I agree. I mean, Ego is awesome. Main Event Mafia is a retread. Aces and Eights has run its course and it's become stale and boring. I think Ego could be once they get out of this Aces and Eights, I think Ego could be the dominating faction in TNA and have more compelling and interesting storylines. But coming off of that, our question of the week for this week is, who's your favorite knockout in TNA? Let us know who you think. Is it ODB? Is it Gail? Mickey James? Could it be somebody else? Hit us up on our Facebook. Hit us up on Twitter. Put it down where? Down in the comments. Going back to the show, speaking of factions, we have the Main Event Mafia coming out to the ring, thanking AJ Styles, offering him membership. AJ comes out, asks the Main Event Mafia to step away, basically says he's his own man, and then cuts the greatest promo I've ever seen AJ Styles cut. In his whole career, if he could have been cutting promos like this, he would have been an even bigger star than he is now. He is the face of TNA, but he could have went so much further if this has been his style the whole time. And kudos to AJ. There was a little tinge of controversy in it. The better than the best in the world line was great. Subtle knock maybe. I don't know if it was a knock from AJ, but subtly knocks the competition. If it is, it is, but that's what I took from it. Knocked the fact that they would bring all these guys in, and when these guys failed, who's there to pick up the pieces and carry the company? Once again, AJ Styles. Very good. I thought it was awesome. It really got me hyped up. Plus, it explained why all of a sudden Lone Wolf AJ turned back to phenomenal AJ Styles. I thought it was great. It led us right into a match with AJ Styles versus Bobby Roode. A match that a lot of people think could have been a world title match or a main event of a pay-per-view. Two of the best that TNA has put out ever since its opening. I think AJ's probably the face of the company, for better or worse. Bobby Roode, I think, is the greatest talent that TNA, all-around talent that TNA has. Some other guys are in there too. I mean, guys I really like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Aries, Daniel, Roode, Kazarian, I said Roode twice, James Storm. I mean, there's a lot of really good guys on the roster. I think Robert Roode, Bobby Roode, is the most well-rounded wrestler of the group, and the guy they should be going forward with on the company. Of course, AJ picks up the win because they're running with the we're screwing Ego gimmick all the way through the night. But hey, it is what it is. Which brings us to our final match of the Battle for Glory series of the night. Austin Aries versus Christopher Daniels. Kind of set up by the fact that last week Ego invited Aries in. Aries not really double-crossed him, but didn't accept the invitation. Aries picks up the win. Again, going with the lines that Ego has been screwed. And that leads us to our Battle for Glory current standings. Now, the standings I'm looking at include next week, so I'm not going to mention that. I know what they were from this week. It was Magnus number 1, Aries 2, Roode number 3, and Jeff Hardy number 4. So obviously Jeff Hardy and Austin Aries benefited getting in there. Where going in, I believe Daniels and Kazarian were both in the top 4 as well. So you had all of Ego and Magnus. I'm kind of okay with Kaz and Daniels not ended up being in the final 4 just because they're more of a tag team at this point. But it would have been cool to have the final 4 being Ego and Magnus. Could have made a huge star out of Magnus if he wrestled and beat 2 or 3 of them. Just my opinion. Now, speaking of huge stars, or guys that used to be huge stars 30 years ago, and it's really funny because I hate doing this. I hate talking about the other products on the one show, but I bring it up just for this reason. I got the Best of Madison Square Garden DVD Blu-ray the other day for WWE, and I'm watching going down the chronological order, and it gets to the part where Hogan wins the championship 29 years ago. It's been 29 years since Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik. He's no longer relevant. But he thinks he is, and the crowd in this, whatever town they were in last, thought he was as well, and they gave him a heck of a pop. Hogan comes out before he could go into the thing. Bully Ray comes out. Hogan hands him the divorce papers. Bully Ray said, "I don't care. I used her, I used you." Hogan calls it Aces of Eights. Flubs his line. Says in 2 weeks we're going to have a member of Aces and Eights is going to challenge for the World Heavyweight title that Bully Ray has. Then he also says that Sting is going to challenge for the World Heavyweight title, which I don't know if that was a mistake that he said that and the stipulation's going to hold up, or they're ignoring the fact that just a few months ago Sting lost all rights to challenge for the TNA title ever again. Who knows? Could have been Hogan's mistake. Hogan made a ton of them during this short segment. Bully Ray, Hulk Hogan, it's been done to death. It really has. These two in the ring together. Bully's one of my absolute favorite wrestlers. I think he's one of the best heels in the business right now. But it's been done. They've done it for months and months and months. And Hulk Hogan is just, I just want him to go away. I really do. I appreciate everything he's done for the business. I appreciate where he's taken wrestling, but like I mentioned, and the reason I did mention it, is we're almost 30 years past Hulkamania. We're 30 years past Rocky III. We're at a point where 5-6 years since he's been in WWE. You know, it's 20 years since he went to WCW Main Impact there, no pun intended. We're 11 WrestleManias since the last WrestleMania he made a big impact on. I mean, I'm just bringing these numbers up just to show how far nobody gives a crap about Hulk Hogan anymore. I'm very sorry. People of my age have seen all we care to see Hogan for. Now, if he went away for a little bit and came back, a la Mick Foley, and we heard, Hogan's coming back, of course we tune in because we want to see him again. But he's been around so much that no one cares to see him anymore. And that's the thing. And speaking of that, it's the thing that it's an anchor to the show. I'm happy the last 4 shows we didn't have him on, but we're going to have to go right into this. The Hulk Hogan Thunderlips count for the week, fittingly 3, as in Rocky 3, and WrestleMania 3. Hogan's lucky number, I'm guessing. It wasn't Hogan overkill. The end segment was very stale and boring. After a pretty decent in-ring matches of the night, I just think it's time for Hogan to go. Get off of my TV. But anyway, I'm going to go right into our rating system. I'm sorry to be so down at the end of this. If you've seen our show before, we have a 1 to 5 scale. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. 1's a Jesse Geyers, 2's a Garrett Bischoff, 3's a James Storm, 4's a Christopher Daniels, 5 is a Bobby Roode. I'm going to give this show a 2, a Garrett Bischoff. The AJ Styles promo, the 4 matches on the show were good. The AJ promo is the thing that sticks out more than anything. The 4 matches on the show were good, but 2 weeks from now, if you ask me who won any of those 4 matches, I'm not even going to remember. that's how. I mean, they could have all been better. The Tito Aces and Eights thing, Aces and Eights has run its course. Hogan and Bully Ray closing the show. Sting getting a world title shot and getting a skirmish with Bully Ray. It's like every time TNA takes a step forward, they take 22 back. And I hate being so negative about this, and I'm trying to find a positive. The positive is AJ Styles' promo and his rumor to have signed a 3-month extension, sounding like it's going to put him at least past the Bound for Glory series, so if they do decide to run with him as a winner, he'll at least be there for that. Smart move, TNA, one of the few that you've made this year. But basically, that's all I really have to say about that. I hate ending on such a negative note, but I just have to. And it's a 2, it's a Garrett Bischoff. Basically, that's all I got. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.